Welcome to another unit in this methodology toolbox. This time I'm going to talk about the difference of one-sided and two-sided tests. Let's start with the one-sided ones, and we can ask ourselves, well, when is it actually a one-sided test? And in the same context, when is it actually a two-sided test? Well, it all goes down to how do our hypotheses look like. So what do we actually want to test? If what we want to test is whether one group is larger or smaller than another, then we're working with a one-sided test. If it's simply about whether one group is different from the other, then it's about a two-sided test. Okay, so far so good, but still, why is it one-sided? Why it's called one-sided? Well, if we consider the distribution, we can see that if we say we want to test whether something is larger or smaller than something, we only have one side to consider. If we want to know if something is large or smaller than 0 in this case, well, obviously all these values are smaller than 0. These values, this could be simply measurement errors. They're not so far away from 0, so those could be measurement errors. But these are clearly much larger than 0, are significantly larger than 0. So all the errors I make are situated here on this side of the reference value. And that's why it's called one-sided, because here all the errors I have are simply situated on one side. And that's actually different with two-sided tests. As I said, two-sided, that's about equality and differences. Here, if I consider this, again, is, for example, the mean equal to 0, different from 0? Well, these values here, they're still close enough to 0. So this could simply be statistical errors, statistical measuring errors, could be randomness. If I'm smaller than this error, this value, or larger than that value, I'm clearly too far away from 0. So here errors are situated on both sides of the distribution. That's why it's called two-sided. So differences, as in simply it's different from, two-sided, errors on two sides, one-sided, it's about is larger or smaller than. Well, with this is also related this slightly different topic, and that's about which value signifies where the problem starts. If we work with, for example, 5% error chance, all the 5% are situated here on this part, or in this area. So the value we want to look up is actually here the 95% percentile, because this up here covers 95%, 5% errors are here. In this case, with two-sided errors, we have to consider that, well, if the errors are split equally between the two sides, this part only covers 2.5%. There's also 2.5%, but this is only 2.5%. Therefore, whatever is left of this side is no longer 95%, but 97.5%, because here it's only 2.5%. So in other words, this value here is the 97.5 quantile, which we need to consider. And that's why with two-sided tests, we take the error probability, divide this by 2, and then subtract this from 1. If we work with a one-sided test, we take the error probability as is and subtract this from 1. Well, that's then everything there is on one-sided and two-sided tests. Let's conclude this session with a short overview. Which of the tests we know are one-sided or two-sided tests? So first off, we have the t-test. In a classical version, as also conducted by most statistic programs, it's a two-sided test. The u-test, similar as basically just the ordinal pendant to the t-test, is also two-sided. The f-test is a classical one-sided test. And the chi-squared test is also one-sided. In particular, since the t-statistic can be positive or negative. The f and chi-squared statistic, they are both only positive. Okay, so final comment, if we have a two-sided test, but we actually do not want to conduct this two-sided but one-sided. If you use a t-test to test whether one group has a mean larger than another one, what do? Well, we simply take the p-values we get and we divide them by 2. And then apply the criterion which are important for us. So switching from a two-sided test to a one-sided test means we take the p-value of the two-sided test, divide this by 2, get the corresponding value for a one-sided test. And that's basically all there is on two and one-sided tests. So I hope you enjoyed this session. I say goodbye and see you next time.